You! Yes, you! Are you tired of using melee influence for everything that you do? Do your attacks feel a little underwhelming? Well, don't you worry, Tenno. Introducing Kullervo, the warframe that turns your puny little hits into game-breaking numbers. Reject the influence, embrace the crit. Kullervo used to be known for only hitting hard, but over time he got some scary buffs. Not only he turns everything into a deadly melee, but he's effectively immortal. In this guide, I'm gonna break down how Kullervo works, what stats really matter, and how to build him for the seal path and level cap. I'm going to cover two builds, heavy attack spam and slam.
Die 10,000 deaths, and your crimes will still pursue you. Kullervo.
The passive. All melee weapons gain 100% heavy attack wind-up animation speed and 75% heavy attack efficiency. Normally, using a heavy attack consumes your entire combo counter. With Kullervo, you retain 75% of it, which means that you can chain heavy attacks repeatedly without having to rebuild from zero. Wrathful Advance teleports Kullervo to a target and immediately performs a heavy attack. If you hold the ability, you can teleport freely without needing a target. This ability is the core of Kullervo's identity. After casting Wrathful Advance, Kullervo gains plus 200 final critical chance, and this bonus scales with ability strength. Because it's final crit chance, it applies after mods, which is why red crits become so easy to achieve. Recompense is his second ability. Kullervo throws 10 daggers in an 8-meter radius, dealing damage to nearby enemies before coming back. Each strike on an enemy restores 325 health, or hits you for a percentage if you didn't connect to any enemy. If Kullervo is max health already, he receives Overguard instead. Both the health restored and the Overguard cap scale with ability strength. With Volatile Recompense Augment, the daggers remain active in a ring around Kullervo for 25 seconds, constantly hitting enemies. This turns Recompense into a reliable sustain and in most cases, effective immortality. Collective Curse links nearby enemies together, and when one enemy takes damage, all linked enemies take 50% of that damage. This scales with ability strength, so at 200% strength, the link reaches 100% damage sharing. Storm of Vuko summons a storm of dagger that rain down in an area, dealing slash damage and generating +1 melee combo per hit. This makes it excellent for building combo counter. With the Wrath of Vuko augment, every Wrathful Advance teleport moves the storm and extends its duration by 6 seconds. Since you're teleporting constantly, the storm effectively becomes permanent. Okay, let's get into the first build. This build is designed to comfortably handle seal path and level cap, while still being flexible with the weapon choice. Let's start on how to survive. Kullervo has built-in healing and overguard, which carries him through most content. However, at level cap you'll notice two problems. First, overguard gets deleted instantly. Second, overguard gating isn't as strong as shield gating, since it only lasts 0.5 seconds instead of 1.3. On top of that, Recompense alone can sometimes fail to refill fast enough with heavy fire. For this reason, we use Arcane Persistence, paired with Umbral Fiber, Vitality, and Intensify for armor, health, and strength, and Volatile Recompense for our health replenish / overguard. Continuity for extra duration on Recompense and Wrathful Advance, and Equilibrium for energy sustain. We use the Steel Charge as our aura, Arcane Fury, and Coaction Drift for that extra little bit of damage. And since Wrath of Vuko constantly builds up combo counter, it acts as a huge damage multiplier for heavy attacks. Finally, we use Prime Flow, pushing our energy pool over 500, enabling the use of Violet Archon Shards, giving extra crit damage. They are not necessary, but we are going for those sweet big numbers. Weapon choice. For weapons here, you can use Glaives, Light Attacks, Exodia Contagion, or any style you want. But the one that I find the most fun is Heavy Attack Spam. Weapons like the Siam, the Hate Incarnate, Chlorophyll, and Ceramic Dagger all work well. However, for pure burst damage, the standout choice is Harmony, Jade's Scythe. Bear with me, some math is coming. Why is their Harmony so strong? Harmony has a unique trait, Harmonic Resonance, which condenses all damage over time status effects into a single instance of damage. What does this mean? Say you have a slash, heat, toxin, electric, or gas effects on your target. Usually, this would deal damage over time, 1 tick of damage per second for 6 seconds to be precise. This is where Harmonic Resonance comes in and squishes all 6 ticks of damage from the status to hit all at once. Okay, let's say that you had a 1k slash proc. Instead of dealing 6k damage spread over 6 seconds, it would do it in one big hit. And if we factor in status duration, we can get at least 12 instances of damage condensed into one big hit. How do you build Harmony? Well, it's simple. Melee Elemental for status damage. Galvanized Steel and Amalgam Organ Shatter for crit damage. Reach for range. Galvanized Reflex will allow us to have a higher initial combo. This will be useful when we are spamming. A Bane mod is ideal since it double dips on status, making our hit and slash procs even stronger, resulting in crazy damage. Last thing for status duration. It usually is a garbage mod, but in Harmony it effectively doubles the status damage of our weapon. Finally, we have a choice. Prime Pressure Point for consistency or Condition Overload for random big boy hits when enemies are primed. For Arcanes, Melee Affliction works perfectly since heavy attacks cause knockups, adding extra slash procs. The playstyle. The playstyle is pretty straightforward. Teleport between groups using Wrathful Advance and attack by using heavy attacks. Wrathful Advance itself is a heavy attack, so you're dealing damage while repositioning. Since we mod for range in our weapon, we don't need to chain unless the enemies are very spread out. For level cap, keep Recompense active at all times and watch out for magnetic procs, which can disable Arcane Persistence. Alright, let's get into the second build. The second build that I'm gonna show you is a Slam build.
Oh, but Chapu, Slam got nerfed and Slam builds are dead because I'm a sheep that can't think for himself.
Shut up, Kullervo doesn't care. First, let's address what got nerfed in June 2025 when DE made changes. First, the AoE of the Slam now scales with the height of the Slam. Closer to the ground means less damage on the AoE radius of the Slam. But if you land near them or on top of the target, the damage of the Slam shouldn't get affected. To counteract this change, just use Kullervo's chains. You're going to spread the damage anyway. The second change was Nira's mods double dipping on itself. So, 100% Slam damage made a 500 hit do 2000 damage instead of 1000. To counteract this, they buffed Nira's to 150% per mod instead of 100%. This nerf made the damage go from a ton of damage to a slightly less but still a ton of damage. Okay, for the build. For Kullervo, we're second damage, first with Steel Charge and Arcane Fury. To scale our Slam damage, we use the previously mentioned Nearest Anguish and Nearest Hatred. For ability strength, we run Blind Rage, Umbral Intensify, and Mold Augmented. We also add Stretch, so both Wrathful and Collective Curse cover a much larger area. The rest of the setup stays the same as before. Volatile Recompense and Wrathful as our augments, Equilibrium for energy sustain, and Flow to increase our energy pool to enable crit Archon Shards. While almost any Slam weapon will work here, my weapon of choice is Ekhein. Mainly because of its unique trait. On heavy attack, Ekhein deals 80% damage and attack speed. And for this build, we're going all in on raw damage. For mods, we start with Prime Pressure Point for base damage. Then we stack critical damage using Galvanized Steel, Organ Shatter, and Gladiator Might. Focus Radon helps with heavy attack efficiency. Seismic Wave boosts our Slam damage. And a faction mod further multiplies our output. My Ribbon adds critical damage and rage, but it's absolutely not required. If you don't have a Ribbon, simply slot in Prime Reach so you'll get similar results. For Arcanes, there aren't many meaningful choices here, so we just run Melee Exposure for a straightforward damage increase. For the playstyle, hold Wrathful Advance to teleport around and reposition your Storm of Vuko, keeping your counter high. Once you're in position, just jump and perform a heavy Slam attack. You will see entire groups of enemies just disappear in one hit. If you really want to get that extra dopamine, chain enemies together with Collective Curse and slam into one target. You'll watch hundreds of millions of damage spread across the group instantly. This build is focused purely on fun rather than endurance, so I wouldn't recommend it pushing it to level cap. That being said, it will comfortably handle pretty much every single content in the game without any issue. Alright, before we wrap things up, here are a few rapid fire tips that can help you squeeze even more value out of both builds. For either build, if you decide to run Condition Overload instead of Prime Pressure Points, using a priming source makes a huge difference. A priming companion like the Riga or a weapon like the Epitaph works extremely well and can push your damage even further. For normal content, I strongly recommend using the Narman Focus School. The Power Spike node causes your melee combo counter to decay by 5 stacks every few seconds, instead of resetting completely, which makes maintaining the combo much more consistent. If you're planning to push into level cap content and want to run a different focus school, like Madurai for extra operator and amp damage, You can compensate by using primary and secondary dexterity arcanes. Each one gives you 7.5 seconds on combo duration. With the introduction of Arcwing arcanes, you can actually stack up to 4 dexterity arcanes in total. 1 for your primary, 1 on your secondary, and 2 on your Arcwing. This gives you up to 30 seconds of free combo counter, which is more than enough to comfortably sustain any melee build. So, if you gave Kullervo a try, let me know in the comments. He's still my most used Warframe, and the dopamine hit from constantly seeing red crits and the damage cap numbers never gets old. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And remember, Tenno, reject the influence, embrace the crit.